Why did Amazon MGM quietly erase Meghan Markle from the official poster of her own movie? The question alone sent shockwaves across social media the moment the promotional materials hit the web. Imagine preparing for a major Hollywood comeback after years of intense public scrutiny, only to see your face disappear from the very thing meant to herald your return. It's a situation that sounds surreal, almost scripted for drama, but for Meghan Markle, this is reality. And the story behind it is far more complicated than a simple marketing choice. But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. Let's rewind a bit. Meghan Markle, once the Duchess of Sussex, has lived a life that reads like a Hollywood script in its own right. From her early acting days on Suits to marrying into the British royal family, her life has been under constant global scrutiny. Every move, every word, every smile dissected. After stepping back from royal duties, Meghan and Prince Harry carved out a new life in California, transitioning from royals to Hollywood influencers in a way no one had quite seen before. Netflix deals, speaking engagements, charity work. Her life became a complex balancing act between privacy and public attention. And now, Meghan is making her long-awaited return to acting with Close Personal Friends, a comedy film starring heavyweights like Lily Collins and Brie Larson. This was supposed to be a triumphant moment, a reassertion of her identity as an actress independent of royal titles and media headlines. A fresh start in Hollywood, a chance to step fully into the limelight on her own terms. But then the poster dropped, and everything changed. When fans and the press saw the official promotional poster for Close Personal Friends, there was an immediate reaction. The images were polished, the aesthetic modern, the cast lineup impressive. Except for one glaring detail, Meghan Markle's placement, or rather, the lack thereof. Instead of being featured alongside her co-stars as expected, sources allege that she was moved to a less prominent position, or even partially cropped out entirely. Some fans claim that she was isolated on the poster, visually separated from the ensemble cast, while the headline screamed about the film's star power, omitting mention of her altogether. Why would Amazon MGM do this? Was it a marketing decision aimed at emphasizing other stars? Was it an attempt to avoid potential controversy? Or could it be a quiet rebuke, a subtle signal of tensions that no one outside the studio knew about? Questions like these have ignited a firestorm online, fueling theories, fan outrage, and media speculation. Some say this is a simple case of branding miscalculation, while others insist it is a deliberate act of exclusion. Let's be clear, in Hollywood, poster placement matters. It's not just about aesthetics, it's about influence, visibility, and recognition. Being front and center can define an actor's role in the public eye, shaping perception before a single line of dialogue is even delivered. When an actor is minimized, isolated, or even cropped from promotional material, it sends a subtle but potent message. Your presence is secondary. Your importance is less than what the audience expects. And for someone like Meghan Markle, who has already faced intense media scrutiny, such a move is emotionally charged, career-altering, and undeniably controversial. Now, some insiders suggest that the tension began long before the poster ever made it to social media. During the first cast meetings, sources claim, Meghan's presence elicited a mix of reactions. Some co-stars were reportedly excited to work with someone of her profile. Others felt wary, cautious, or even intimidated. Stories circulated about whispered hallway conversations, subtle body language, and moments that suggested underlying friction. One anonymous source said, "It was clear from day one that the atmosphere on set was different with her there. People were polite, but the energy was tense." This is the kind of environment that can ripple through a production, influencing decisions about everything from camera angles to marketing strategy. If the energy on set was charged with subtle tension, it could explain why studio executives might choose to separate Meghan visually on a poster. But then, there's also the public factor. Meghan Markle is one of the most discussed figures in the world. Every image of her is scrutinized, every placement analyzed. Amazon MGM may have been trying to avoid a PR storm, or perhaps they were calculating how to maximize attention without risking backlash. The media response was swift. Headlines debated the implications. Meghan Markle erased. Amazon MGM snubs royal actress. Why is she isolated on the poster? Social media erupted with fan outrage, memes, and viral discussions. People were comparing the poster to other ensemble films, analyzing the visual hierarchy, and debating whether Meghan's exclusion was accidental or deliberate. Hashtags trended, with some fans defending her, others critiquing her, and still others simply marveling at the unfolding drama. It was, in a sense, a perfect storm. Hollywood, royalty, controversy, and marketing strategy colliding in one image. But the story doesn't end there. Beyond social media speculation lies a more complex narrative involving studio politics, co-star dynamics, and potentially even contractual considerations. Some industry insiders claim that Meghan's contract allowed her certain rights to publicity materials, while others say she might not have had full control over poster placement. There are reports suggesting behind-the-scenes debates about how to market the film, how to balance the ensemble, and how to present a cast with multiple high-profile actors. It's not just about her career, it's about public perception. For someone who has already navigated the media storms of royal life, being visually sidelined on the poster of her own movie is more than a professional slight. It's personal. It taps into a broader narrative about isolation, scrutiny, and the challenges of reinventing oneself in a world that constantly measures relevance, fame, and image. Fans, too, have become part of the story. Some are organizing online campaigns, demanding that Meghan be prominently featured. Others are dissecting every aspect of the film's marketing rollout, from trailers to press photos. Every tweet, every Instagram post, every article is analyzed for hidden meaning, intentional or not. In today's social media age, the audience is not just watching. They are participating, influencing, and even amplifying the drama. So what does this all mean for Meghan Markle? It means that a single image, a poster, has become a flashpoint for larger questions about her place in Hollywood, her autonomy as an actress, and the way studios navigate public perception in the age of instant media. It's a reminder that in Hollywood, as in royalty, appearances carry weight. Every placement matters. Every visual choice communicates power, status, and priority. And when someone like Meghan Markle is placed on the periphery, the story is bigger than just marketing. It's about influence, visibility, and identity. But there's more. Allegedly, some co-stars were uncomfortable sharing the spotlight. Some studio executives reportedly worried about the media frenzy that her presence might provoke. And behind the closed doors of production offices and marketing meetings, decisions were being made. Decisions that would culminate in a poster that some now call controversial, isolating, and revealing of deeper tensions. By now, the question lingers in the air. Was this an accident, an oversight, or something far more deliberate? And if deliberate, what does it reveal about the complex web of power, image, and politics in Hollywood? As we dive deeper into this story, we will uncover layers you haven't seen before. Insider accounts of cast meetings, whispers of behind-the-scenes drama, analyses of studio strategies, and social media reactions that grew into a full-blown storm. Each revelation adds a piece to the puzzle, revealing not just the poster controversy, but the dynamics of an industry where image is everything and every placement can alter a career. And yet, as dramatic as the poster exclusion is, it may only be the tip of the iceberg. What truly happened on set? What were the discussions and marketing meetings? How did Meghan respond in private? And what will this mean for the premiere, the film's reception, and her Hollywood comeback? But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. It started innocently enough, a source close to the set reportedly said, but the tension was palpable within minutes. Imagine walking into a room filled with Hollywood stars, seasoned actors, and creative powerhouses, all buzzing with excitement about the project ahead. This was supposed to be a normal first cast meeting, a chance to break the ice, meet colleagues, and start building chemistry. But for Meghan Markle, it was anything but normal. From the moment she entered the room, all eyes were on her. Some glanced curiously, others nervously. In Hollywood, reputation matters, but few celebrities carry the weight of global attention quite like Meghan Markle. She wasn't just an actress returning to work. She was a former royal, a global figure, and a subject of constant media scrutiny. Every gesture, every word, every look was being analyzed before she even uttered a line. People were smiling, the insider added. But the smiles didn't quite reach their eyes. It's an odd sensation, being surrounded by enthusiastic collaborators while simultaneously feeling isolated. The first meeting involved the usual formalities. Introductions, scripts passed around, preliminary discussions about character dynamics. Lily Collins and Brie Larson were reportedly warm and welcoming, professional as always, but there were subtle signs of hesitation elsewhere. The first icebreaker exercise should have been lighthearted, a fun, creative game to get the cast laughing. But in an environment charged with subtle tension, even laughter can feel forced. Someone might have cracked a joke about the characters' relationships, and Meghan reportedly smiled politely, but the atmosphere remained taut. There was an unspoken question hanging over the room. How would this ensemble work together when one member was so intensely scrutinized? Let's pause and consider this. Have you ever been the new person in a group where everyone knows something about you that you wish they didn't? Multiply that feeling by thousands, then add paparazzi, global news cycles, and internet commentary. That's what Meghan faced on day one. She was there to work, to act, to contribute, but the invisible weight of expectation made normal interactions incredibly difficult. According to insiders, the first cast meeting also revealed subtle fractures in alliances. Hollywood, like any industry, thrives on networking, hierarchy, and perception. Some cast members reportedly felt pressure to navigate the room carefully, to align themselves without offending anyone, to manage optics. The presence of Meghan, with her high-profile history, amplified those dynamics. It wasn't just about acting chemistry. It was about status, influence, and risk. Rumors quickly emerged that someone on set made a passing comment about publicity and media attention. Something along the lines of, "This film will get a lot of eyes on it, but we have to manage who gets the spotlight." It may have been casual, almost offhand, but in that environment, every word carried weight. Some observers interpreted it as a subtle critique of Meghan's potential dominance in the marketing narrative. Others dismissed it as normal studio chatter, but it planted a seed. The poster, and how the cast was represented, could become a battleground before filming even started. The scripts were circulated, and table reads began. Meghan approached her lines with professionalism and poise. But subtle tensions reportedly emerged in reading scenes with other cast members. Pauses lingered just a fraction too long. Laughter was polite rather than genuine. One insider said, "You could feel the energy shift when she spoke." People were careful, measuring their reactions. It wasn't hostility, exactly, but it wasn't normal ease either. There's a fascinating aspect here. In ensemble films, first impressions are critical. Chemistry on set translates directly to on-screen dynamics. Directors, producers, and cast members all rely on those initial readings to shape interactions, camera placement, and narrative focus. If the energy is strained from the outset, studios may make preemptive marketing decisions, subtly repositioning actors to avoid perceived friction or imbalance. Could this be a factor in why Meghan was visually isolated on the poster? Some insiders believe it might have played a role. Beyond the interpersonal dynamics, Meghan's presence reportedly caused logistical headaches. Security concerns, media interest, and scheduling conflicts added complexity to what should have been a straightforward day. Every movement, every interaction, every photograph had to be carefully coordinated. The result was an environment where normal camaraderie was almost impossible, and minor tensions were magnified. Then came a subtle moment that some sources say foreshadowed the poster controversy. During a brief group discussion about promotional strategy, someone reportedly suggested emphasizing the core ensemble in marketing materials. The term was vague, but the implication clear. Decisions would be made about visual hierarchy, spotlight, and prominence. Meghan's unique position, former royalty, global figure, returning actress, posed a challenge. How do you market a film without letting one member overshadow the others, while still respecting contractual obligations and audience expectations? Consider this. In Hollywood, image is everything. Poster placement is not arbitrary. Who appears front and center, who is slightly behind, who is cropped, who is grouped separately. It all communicates subtle messages about prominence and importance. By the end of that first meeting, Sources suggest that the idea of isolating certain members for the poster was quietly being considered, not necessarily as a personal slight, but as a calculated studio decision. Yet the human element cannot be ignored. Imagine being the actor whose career, reputation, and public perception are literally being debated before a camera has rolled. The pressure is immense. Meghan reportedly left the first meeting with mixed emotions. Excitement for the role, nerves about dynamics, and perhaps a sense of premonition about how marketing decisions might unfold. From a narrative perspective, this first cast meeting set the stage for everything that followed. It revealed cracks in ensemble dynamics, hinted at potential marketing decisions, and created an environment ripe for tension. Observers could sense that something unusual was happening. But no one could predict just how visible the consequences would be until the poster emerged. And yet, in the midst of all this, there were moments of normality. Meghan's professionalism reportedly impressed some co-stars, and she managed to navigate the awkwardness with grace. She contributed creatively, asked insightful questions, and showed commitment to the project. But her every move was scrutinized, and in a room full of stars, scrutiny is as potent as applause. The first cast meeting also brought to light another element that later became central to public discussions: perception versus reality. On paper, everything seemed fine. Professionalism, cordiality, enthusiasm. In practice, the subtleties of body language, whispered comments, and silent judgments hinted at a more complex dynamic. And it is precisely these complexities that may have influenced the studio's later choices that would be magnified when the poster went public. So, what really happened in that room? Was Meghan simply caught in an ordinary web of Hollywood politics, or were there deliberate moves to position her differently in marketing materials? Were the tensions genuine or merely perceived? And how did these early interactions foreshadow what fans would later see in the public eye? As the first day wrapped, insiders report a quiet intensity in the production office. Decisions about the poster, promotional campaigns, and cast hierarchy were being discussed behind closed doors. The stage was being set, subtly, for what would become a storm of speculation, controversy, and media scrutiny. And here's the kicker. What happened during that first cast meeting may have directly shaped the way Meghan was visually represented in promotional material, her placement, her isolation, and the narrative that would unfold once fans saw the poster. But what came next on set? The whispered conversations, the behind-the-scenes debates, and the subtle maneuvers in production offices would escalate the tension far beyond anything anyone expected. The first cast meeting was only the beginning, and no one outside those walls could have predicted just how it would ripple through the marketing, the media, and ultimately Meghan's public perception. The cameras didn't capture what was really happening. That was the sentiment of one insider who observed the set of close personal friends during the early days of filming. To the public, everything looked polished, professional, and even glamorous. The cast laughed, the crew moved with precision, and the set appeared to hum with creative energy. But beneath the surface, tensions simmered, small frictions that would later grow into a maelstrom, culminating in a poster controversy that the media would not stop talking about. It began subtly. Minor disagreements over lines, differing interpretations of scenes, and the natural clash of personalities all contributed to a charged environment. In a normal film production, these moments are expected. Directors navigate them, actors adjust, and crews adapt. But in this case, the dynamics were complicated by the presence of Meghan Markle, someone who carried not only the weight of her acting ability, but also the weight of global attention and public expectation. One scene in particular became emblematic of these tensions. It was a relatively simple comedic exchange between Meghan and Brie Larson. On paper, it should have been light, playful, and easy to shoot. On set, however, the interaction stretched over hours. Sources suggest that every delivery, every inflection, was scrutinized, not only by the director, but also by other cast members who were acutely aware of Meghan's presence. What should have been a routine moment of performance became a delicate negotiation of ego, timing, and perception. Insiders say that these subtle tensions weren't limited to on-camera moments. In the downtime between takes, whispered conversations and glances were reported. Crew members noted that some actors seemed hesitant to approach Meghan directly, while others appeared guarded, measuring every word. The atmosphere, while polite on the surface, was layered with complexity. Excitement for the project intertwined with unease about how the dynamics would play out in front of the cameras and in marketing materials. And then there were the rumors, quiet, almost imperceptible at first. Some on set allegedly speculated that Meghan's return to acting could overshadow other stars in the film. Others reportedly worried about how media coverage might shift focus away from ensemble aspects toward a single high-profile figure. One insider described the environment as walking a tightrope between professional respect and personal anxiety. Every movement, every choice, carried implications. Even small things became magnified. Seating arrangements during meetings, who received scripts first, who interacted most with the director. Everything became a subtle form of signaling. Observers noted that Meghan's interactions were professional, cordial, and poised. Yet, the heightened awareness of her global profile caused colleagues to respond differently than they would with any other actor. Some were naturally curious, others cautious, and a few, according to whispers, even resentful. Now, imagine being in that environment. How would you act if every gesture, smile, or comment was potentially analyzed, misinterpreted, or publicized? How would you navigate a room full of talented professionals, each aware of your fame, each considering their own position, each managing their own media visibility? Meghan faced that reality daily. The impact of this behind-the-scenes tension went beyond interpersonal discomfort. It reportedly affected filming schedules, creative decisions, and even promotional planning. Scenes took longer to shoot because actors were cautious, avoiding moments that might be misinterpreted. The director had to intervene more frequently, balancing creative goals with the need to maintain harmony. And somewhere in the production offices, executives were quietly debating how to translate this on-set energy into marketing strategy. One source noted that studio executives were deeply aware of how every decision would be dissected by the public. Poster placement, trailer edits, social media campaigns, all became strategic tools in navigating both audience expectation and internal dynamics. Meghan's role, highly visible in script pages, became a variable that required careful handling. How could the studio showcase her presence without overshadowing other stars, while also avoiding potential backlash or fan misinterpretation? And then came the leaks. Anonymous snippets of information, minor production mishaps, and offhand comments slowly made their way online. Observers on social media speculated, interpreted, and amplified the story. Suddenly, what had been internal tensions were being discussed in public forums, with fans weighing in on everything from poster placement to alleged cast friction. The drama escalated beyond the studio walls, feeding back into the production team's awareness of audience perception. It's also worth noting the human element. Being a high-profile figure in a tightly knit ensemble creates pressure, not just professionally, but emotionally. Meghan, according to insiders, was reportedly aware of the scrutiny and tried to remain focused on her craft. She prepared meticulously for each scene, remained courteous and professional with every cast member, and maintained a calm presence despite the swirling speculation. But even the most composed individuals can feel the strain of constant observation and the knowledge that every move is under magnifying glass scrutiny. Some of the tension reportedly involved creative disagreements as well. Comedy is highly subjective, and the timing of jokes, improvisation choices, and character interpretations became points of negotiation. According to sources, there were moments when actors disagreed on how to deliver lines, leading to subtle clashes that could affect the rhythm of a scene. In a less intense environment, these disagreements might have been inconsequential. Here, however, they contributed to the overall sense of underlying drama. Another layer to this behind-the-scenes story involved the coordination of press events, interviews, and promotional material shoots. Meghan's involvement in these activities required additional logistical planning due to her high profile. Security considerations, media access, and the timing of appearances all added complexity to a production that was already navigating interpersonal tension. Even seemingly minor decisions, where she would stand during a photo shoot, who would appear next to her, carried symbolic weight. At the same time, the public fascination with Meghan's every move created an atmosphere of hyper-awareness among the cast and crew. According to insiders, some actors were unusually cautious around her, not out of hostility, but from fear of being misrepresented or overexposed. Others reportedly viewed her as a potential threat to the ensemble dynamic, worried that media focus might skew toward a single personality rather than the group as a whole. The culmination of these behind-the-scenes tensions, logistical complexities, and perception-driven considerations ultimately influenced key studio decisions, including, some insiders claim, the controversial poster placement. It wasn't a simple aesthetic choice. It was a calculated, multifaceted decision shaped by production dynamics, marketing strategy, and the pressure of global scrutiny. The isolation of Meghan's image on the poster was not just visual. It was symbolic, reflecting a web of interpersonal, professional, and strategic factors that had been quietly developing from day one. And yet, despite the mounting pressure, the production moved forward. Filming continued, scenes were completed, and promotional materials were prepared. The cast maintained professional decorum, the crew executed schedules, and the studio began the process of crafting a public narrative. But the undercurrents of drama remained, ready to surface the moment the poster was revealed to the public. As the weeks passed, insiders reported that subtle tensions continued to influence decisions. The team discussed angles, framing, and positioning, debating which cast members should appear most prominently. Each choice carried weight, each adjustment a potential flashpoint for speculation. The dynamics on set, invisible to the public, had begun to manifest in ways that would ultimately be undeniable when the marketing campaign went live. By the time the poster was finally released, the behind-the-scenes drama had set the stage for an explosive public reaction. What the cameras did not capture, the whispers, the cautious gestures, the negotiations, and the strategic decisions, had a direct impact on the visual narrative presented to the world. The isolation of Meghan Markle on the poster was more than an image. It was the culmination of weeks of subtle tensions, strategic maneuvering, and complex interpersonal dynamics. But what came next? The social media storm, fan reactions, and internal studio responses would escalate the situation far beyond the controlled environment of the set. The drama that had begun behind the scenes was about to enter the public eye, and the consequences would ripple across Hollywood, media, and Meghan's career in ways no one had anticipated. Then came the poster, and the internet exploded. Those 6 words barely begin to capture the storm that followed the release of the official promotional material for close personal friends. For months, fans had been anticipating Meghan Markle's return to acting. There was excitement, curiosity, and a sense of renewed relevance for an actress whose career had been paused by royal obligations. And yet, when the poster hit, the reaction was immediate, visceral, and overwhelming, and not all of it was positive. At first glance, the poster appeared polished. Lily Collins and Brie Larson were front and center, smiles wide, expressions confident, exuding the energy expected from a high-profile ensemble cast. The composition was modern, clean, and visually balanced. But the placement of Meghan Markle immediately caught attention, though not for the reasons she or her fans might have hoped. Sources and online observers noted subtle but significant differences. She was positioned slightly behind the others, isolated in her own space, cropped closer to the edge, or, according to some interpretations, almost sidelined entirely. The reaction online was instantaneous. Social media exploded with commentary. Memes circulated, fan theories emerged, and heated debates filled comment sections. People questioned whether this was intentional or a mere coincidence. Some fans were outraged, calling it a deliberate snub. Others attempted to rationalize it as a standard marketing choice, arguing that ensemble posters often prioritize symmetry, color composition, or star recognition metrics. But in an age where celebrity placement on promotional materials is scrutinized to a fine degree, even small adjustments carry enormous symbolic weight. One fan tweeted, "Why is Meghan on the edge? She's supposed to be part of the main cast." Another posted a detailed side-by-side comparison with previous ensemble films, highlighting the stark visual differences. Instagram stories speculated on hidden meanings, while Reddit threads dissected every pixel, theorizing about internal studio dynamics, marketing strategy, and possible interpersonal tensions on set. Within hours, the poster became a focal point for debate, trending topics, and viral conversation. It's crucial to understand why this visual placement mattered. In Hollywood, poster hierarchy communicates prominence. Front and center placement is associated with star power, influence, and expected screen time. Marginal placement can suggest a secondary role or reduced importance, regardless of actual on-screen significance. For Meghan, a figure already navigating the complexities of transitioning from royal life back into the public sphere, this wasn't just an aesthetic choice, it was a public signal. Insiders suggest that the decision was more than mere design preference. Behind the closed doors of Amazon MGM's marketing department, executives reportedly debated positioning choices extensively. Questions about audience perception, media coverage, and potential backlash loomed large. Some argued that placing Meghan slightly apart would prevent one personality from overshadowing the ensemble. Others reportedly worried that her history as a former royal would dominate the conversation, drawing attention away from other talented actors or the film itself. But there's more to this than just studio strategy. Some sources claim that the cast dynamics played a role. Early reports from filming suggested that subtle tensions between Meghan and other actors had emerged during rehearsals and table reads. While nothing overt occurred on camera, whispers, cautious interactions, and minor disagreements may have influenced the way marketing materials were approached. Essentially, what happened on set had begun to manifest in the way the film was visually presented to the public. Critics and media outlets were quick to seize on the controversy. Headlines appeared almost immediately. Meghan Markle erased from poster, Amazon MGM snubs Duchess turned actress, and why is she isolated on the cast poster? The framing of these stories amplified the drama, igniting debates about celebrity treatment, media bias, and studio decision-making. Fans were polarized. Some defended Meghan, citing her professionalism and talent, while others questioned whether her high-profile status warranted such a response. Meanwhile, marketing analysts began weighing in. They noted that ensemble films often have to balance multiple personalities, screen time, and marketability. Strategic decisions regarding poster placement are influenced by factors like demographic appeal, audience recognition, and even algorithmic predictions about online engagement. But analysts also acknowledge that in this case, the decision was highly unusual given Meghan's prominence and the publicity surrounding her return. In other words, even within standard industry practices, the visual choice raised eyebrows. The controversy didn't just stay online, it spilled into press coverage. Talk shows, entertainment news programs, and celebrity gossip blogs picked up the story. Each segment analyzed the poster, speculated about studio motives, and interviewed experts on marketing, celebrity strategy, and film promotion. Social media metrics reflected a surge in discussion. Engagement rates spiked, trending topics multiplied, and hashtags related to Meghan and the poster proliferated. At the same time, some co-stars reportedly noticed the growing discussion. According to insiders, there was a mix of amusement, concern, and frustration among the cast. Some felt caught in the middle, unsure whether the poster controversy would overshadow the film itself. Others were reportedly surprised at how quickly fans and media interpreted visual placement as a personal slight, rather than a creative or marketing choice. The environment became a delicate balancing act between professional collaboration and managing public perception. One particularly notable moment involved a leaked photo from a marketing meeting, showing executives reviewing multiple poster drafts. Observers noted Meghan's placement was debated, with lines drawn, boxes highlighted, and several options considered before the final version was released. The leaked images fueled further speculation. Was the isolation intentional? Was it a subtle signal of tension between actors, or simply a marketing experiment? The truth, as often is the case in Hollywood, remained obscured behind corporate confidentiality and careful messaging. This chapter of the story also illustrates the psychological impact of visual representation. For an actor, especially one in Meghan's unique position, poster placement is deeply symbolic. It can influence fan perception, media narrative, and even professional opportunities. Being marginalized, even slightly, can feel like a public undervaluing of talent, contribution, and presence. For Meghan, who had navigated global attention for years, This small visual shift carried emotional resonance, sending subtle messages to fans, peers, and the industry. And yet, not all reactions were negative. Some fans and commentators defended the poster, arguing that ensemble balance, aesthetic symmetry, and marketing strategy often dictate placement. They noted that Lily Collins and Brie Larson had existing Hollywood visibility metrics, potentially justifying their central positions. But the debate was never just about logic. It was about perception, narrative, and the stories people choose to tell about celebrity treatment. By the end of the day, the poster had become more than a marketing tool. It had become a symbol, a flashpoint, and a conversation starter. The visual isolation of Meghan Markle prompted discussions not only about the film, but about the broader dynamics of fame, media scrutiny, and the interplay between Hollywood and public perception. The story had moved from behind-the-scenes speculation to the forefront of global conversation. And as discussions continued to grow online, insiders hinted that the poster controversy was only the beginning. Decisions about future promotional materials, interviews, press appearances, and social media campaigns were reportedly being reconsidered in light of the backlash. The studio faced a dilemma: how to navigate fan outrage, media scrutiny, and internal dynamics without derailing the film's momentum. The tension was escalating, and the world was watching. Fans were asking, would Meghan respond publicly? Would the studio adjust future marketing? And perhaps most intriguingly, what else was happening behind the polished surface of the production that the public had yet to see? But what came next? An insider revelation that would challenge everything we thought we knew about the poster, the marketing decisions, and Meghan's place in the film, was about to shake Hollywood even further. A source close to the production finally spoke, and what they revealed was shocking. That statement began circulating on entertainment news outlets, sending a fresh wave of speculation across social media. For weeks, fans had been analyzing the poster of close personal friends, debating Meghan Markle's placement and questioning whether her isolation was intentional. Now, whispers from someone with first-hand knowledge threatened to confirm what many had feared, and others still refused to believe. Insiders claim that conversations behind the scenes were far more complicated than any fan or journalist could have imagined. According to multiple sources, executives, producers, and even some cast members were actively debating how to present Meghan to the public. The deliberations were not casual. They involved extensive review of promotional materials, analytics about audience engagement, and predictive modeling of media reactions. Every decision carried weight, as the potential fallout could affect not just the film's reception, but Meghan's public image, co-star relations, and Amazon MGM's reputation. One source revealed that there had been heated discussions in the studio offices about the messaging surrounding her role. Some felt that featuring her prominently could overshadow the rest of the ensemble, the insider said. Others argued that she deserved equal billing for her talent and her contribution. The debate became tense because everyone knew that public perception mattered as much as artistic integrity. It wasn't just a matter of design. According to these whispers, executives were acutely aware of Meghan's history, her time as a royal, her media presence, and the controversies she had faced in recent years. There was concern that focusing too much on her in promotional materials could reignite old debates or spark new ones. And so, subtle choices were made, placing her slightly apart, emphasizing other cast members, and managing how her image would be perceived by different audiences. But insiders also suggest that interpersonal dynamics on set played a role in these decisions. According to sources, some co-stars were reportedly cautious around Meghan, not out of malice, but because they were unsure how to navigate the attention her presence inevitably brought. People didn't want to say the wrong thing or be misinterpreted, one anonymous staffer explained. They were polite, but there was tension. Even small gestures were scrutinized, and everyone was aware of the cameras and the media. This insider perspective paints a picture of a production operating under immense pressure. It wasn't just about filming a movie. It was about managing personalities, public perception, and the unpredictable reactions of a global audience. Every decision, from camera angles to poster placement, became a calculated move in a complex chess game. Interestingly, the whispers didn't stop at marketing strategy or interpersonal dynamics. Some insiders claimed that Meghan herself had noticed the subtle tensions early on. She reportedly remained professional, focused on her performance, and careful not to exacerbate any existing friction. But people close to her observed that she was aware of the decisions being made around her image. According to one source, she knew what was happening. She's smart. She understands media and perception better than most people realize. The public, however, would never see these behind-the-scenes deliberations. Fans only had the poster, the trailers, and social media commentary to interpret. And in that vacuum, speculation flourished. Questions began circulating. Was Meghan being deliberately minimized? Were co-stars influencing studio decisions? Was this part of a broader narrative about her role in Hollywood after leaving the royal family? Some whispers even suggested internal disagreements about the tone of promotional campaigns. Certain executives reportedly argued that emphasizing Meghan too much could polarize audiences, while others believed that downplaying her could create controversy, spark debate, and ultimately increase engagement. It was a delicate balance between risk and reward, and every choice carried consequences. But what made these whispers even more intriguing was their suggestion of intentionality. Sources hinted that the separation of Meghan's image on the poster wasn't an accident. It was described as a subtle, calculated move, designed to manage perception and control the narrative before the public could form their own opinions. The insider claimed, it was never meant to be cruel, but it was strategic. Every placement, every adjustment, was debated, revised, and scrutinized. Fans quickly picked up on these claims, sharing leaked information, anonymous statements, and analysis on social media platforms. Reddit threads exploded with speculation. Instagram stories dissected every pixel, and Twitter debates grew increasingly heated. Was this a subtle snub, an overcautious marketing strategy, or a deliberate attempt to create intrigue around Meghan's role in the film? The answers remained elusive. Adding another layer of complexity, some sources suggested that these insider whispers had even reached the co-stars themselves. According to reports, Brie Larson and Lily Collins were aware of the discussions and were actively trying to maintain harmony on set. One insider explained, they didn't want any tension to affect their performances or the overall dynamic. They were professional, but they also understood the sensitivity of the situation. These revelations began to paint a picture of a production operating under constant scrutiny. Scrutiny from the media, scrutiny from fans, scrutiny from internal teams, and scrutiny from the cast itself. Every decision had ramifications. Every interaction mattered. And in this high-stakes environment, even minor choices could be amplified into controversy. The whispers also suggested that the marketing team was closely monitoring fan reactions to every promotional release. They were tracking engagement metrics, social media trends, and even sentiment analysis to predict how audiences would perceive Meghan's positioning. According to one insider, they knew that fans would notice. They knew there would be discussion, and they were prepared for it. But they also knew it could spiral beyond their control. Amidst all this, Meghan herself reportedly remained composed, focusing on her craft and navigating the situation with poise. But the whispers reveal a deeper truth. No matter how calm and professional an actor might be, the pressures of public perception, internal dynamics, and media scrutiny create a complex environment where every detail counts. And yet, the whispers hinted at something even more provocative, something that had not yet reached the public eye. According to multiple insiders, discussions were taking place about potential adjustments for the film's premiere, interviews, and social media campaigns. The poster controversy was just the beginning. Executives were reportedly weighing every angle, considering responses to potential backlash and planning contingencies. The narrative surrounding Meghan's role in the film was being actively managed from behind closed doors in ways the public could not see. This is where the story takes a more dramatic turn. The insider whispers suggested that what appeared as a simple marketing choice, the positioning of an actress on a poster, was actually part of a complex web of strategy, ego management, and audience manipulation. Every decision was layered, every adjustment calculated, and every move could have consequences for careers, reputations, and the perception of the film itself. Fans, oblivious to the behind-the-scenes complexity, began to speculate wildly. Some assumed the studio was intentionally snubbing Meghan. Others believed it was a protective measure, designed to shield her from potential controversy. Rumors circulated about co-stars, media coverage, and even royal connections influencing decisions. In reality, the whispers suggest a far more nuanced story, where intent, perception, and consequence intertwine in ways that are difficult to disentangle. And here's the chilling part. These insider whispers indicate that the poster controversy was not an isolated incident. Decisions being made behind the scenes, fueled by tension, strategy, and careful calculation, were likely to shape future promotional campaigns, interviews, and even public appearances. The narrative that audiences saw online, the isolated image of Meghan Markle, was only a snapshot of a far more intricate, high-stakes game unfolding behind the scenes. As the whispers continued to circulate, one question loomed over the production. Would the studio adjust their approach, or would they double down on the strategic choices that sparked so much debate? The answers remained unknown, leaving fans, media, and even co-stars in suspense. But what came next? An unexpected leak, a shift in strategy, and a revelation that would alter the narrative surrounding Meghan Markle's role in close personal friends, was about to escalate the controversy to a level no one could have anticipated. Fans didn't hold back. That simple phrase barely captures the wave of responses that hit social media the moment the close personal friends poster featuring Meghan Markle was released. Within hours, discussions, debates, and outright outrage spread across Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit. Memes began to proliferate, side-by-side comparisons circulated, and the world seemed to pivot to one question. Why was Meghan Markle isolated on the poster? The initial reaction was a mix of shock, confusion, and curiosity. Some fans were outraged on principle, defending Meghan as a talented actress whose placement on the poster should have reflected her contributions to the film. They posted comments like, "She's one of the leads. How can they do this? And this isn't just marketing, it's disrespect." Others expressed disbelief that a former royal could be treated this way, framing it as a symbolic act of exclusion, a subtle snub by Hollywood power structures. Meanwhile, another group of observers attempted to rationalize the decision. Marketing professionals, industry analysts, and even casual fans suggested that poster hierarchy is often based on audience recognition metrics, previous box office performance, or ensemble balance. While some defended the studio's choices, few could ignore the optics. Meghan's image was noticeably separated from the main group. For a figure of her global profile, the visual isolation felt significant. Entertainment news outlets quickly caught wind of the controversy, amplifying the discussion. Headlines appeared almost immediately. Meghan Markle erased from poster. Amazon MGM snubs Duchess turned actress. Why is she isolated on the cast poster? Talk shows and morning news programs featured segments dissecting the poster, analyzing its composition, and speculating about the implications. Industry insiders were invited to comment, sharing varying opinions on whether this was an oversight, a marketing strategy, or a deliberate slight. One journalist remarked, "In Hollywood, placement matters. Front and center equals prominence. Being isolated on the edge, even slightly, can signal secondary importance, whether intentional or not." This statement resonated with fans, fueling debates across platforms. In forums, users dissected every pixel, creating detailed analyses comparing Meghan's placement to her co-stars. On TikTok, creators dramatized the visual isolation with humor, irony, and social commentary, generating viral content that drew millions of views. But beyond the social media storm, the controversy had a more personal element. For Meghan, who had returned to acting after years of royal duties, this was supposed to be a moment of triumph, a chance to reclaim her identity as an artist. Instead, the poster became a flashpoint, amplifying scrutiny and inviting criticism. According to insiders, she reportedly remained professional and composed, focusing on her work rather than the public discourse, but the emotional impact cannot be underestimated. Critics quickly pointed out the historical context. Hollywood has a long history of marginalizing women, especially those who bring unique public identities or controversy into a project. By isolating Meghan visually, some argued, Amazon MGM risked perpetuating a narrative that she was separate, different, or less integrated than the rest of the cast. Others, however, interpreted the poster as a neutral marketing choice, emphasizing ensemble balance and symmetry. The divide in public opinion added fuel to the fire. The controversy also triggered comparisons with previous ensemble films. Fans noted that other high-profile actors had been given front and center placement regardless of screen time or ensemble dynamics. Social media users debated whether Meghan's exclusion was unique and unfair or consistent with industry norms. Reddit threads exploded with side-by-side poster comparisons, fan polls, and speculation about behind-the-scenes decisions. The level of engagement was unprecedented, highlighting the emotional investment of a global fan base. As the conversation grew, the studio reportedly monitored reactions closely. Executives reviewed metrics on social media engagement, media coverage, and fan sentiment. Insider whispers suggest that they were trying to predict potential fallout, weighing whether to adjust promotional strategies, issue statements, or let the controversy play out organically. Every post, comment, and article became part of a feedback loop that influenced the next marketing move. Interestingly, some of the attention extended to the co-stars. Lily Collins and Brie Larson were praised for their performances, but also became part of the discussion about poster hierarchy. Fans speculated whether the studio's decisions were influenced by existing Hollywood metrics, perceived audience appeal, or internal dynamics. Behind the scenes, the cast reportedly felt pressure to navigate both their performances and the public perception of their interactions with Meghan. Social media, however, had its own momentum. Memes juxtaposed the poster with other film ensembles, emphasizing Meghan's visual isolation. TikTok videos dramatized the scenario, often using humor or satire to convey perceived snubs. Fan accounts created poster analysis posts, examining angles, cropping, and spacing. Within hours, the controversy transcended the film itself, sparking broader discussions about media treatment, celebrity scrutiny, and the intersection of fame and image. The backlash extended into journalism. Several high-profile publications published op-eds debating the implications of Meghan's placement. Some framed it as a commentary on Hollywood politics and systemic marginalization. Others explored the tension between celebrity and ensemble films, noting that promotional materials often reflect calculated marketing strategies rather than personal statements. Regardless of perspective, the story dominated entertainment coverage for days, cementing its place as a high-profile controversy. One particularly compelling aspect of the fallout involved fan campaigns. Online petitions began circulating, calling for Meghan to be featured more prominently in promotional materials. Hashtags advocating for equal billing trended on multiple platforms. Social media influencers analyzed the poster's composition, creating content that further amplified awareness and engagement. The controversy became a self-reinforcing cycle. Attention generated more commentary, which in turn generated more media coverage. The public's response was not solely negative. Many fans expressed support for Meghan, celebrating her professionalism and talent despite the visual snub. Some argued that her isolated placement was irrelevant compared to her performance, while others noted the irony of a global superstar being treated in a way that seemed incongruent with her achievements. These discussions further fueled debate, making the poster controversy a lightning rod for broader conversations about fairness, media representation, and celebrity culture. Meanwhile, insiders hinted that the studio was quietly considering options for future promotional materials. Could adjustments be made? Should social media content emphasize her role differently? What about interviews, press appearances, and trailer placement? The decisions were delicate, balancing marketing goals with audience sentiment, co-star relations, and Meghan's own public image. The stakes were high. Every choice could alter perception and influence box office performance. As public reactions intensified, social media became a theater of speculation, analysis, and satire. From dissecting body language to evaluating placement within the poster, fans engaged in a global discussion that blurred the lines between entertainment, criticism, and advocacy. The controversy wasn't confined to Hollywood insiders. It had become a cultural moment, touching on themes of celebrity treatment, media representation, and the power dynamics inherent in high-profile projects. Yet, the drama didn't end with reactions alone. According to insider whispers, Amazon MGM executives were monitoring every conversation, aware that the public narrative could influence marketing strategies, premiere events, and even box office performance. The studio faced a critical choice: acknowledge the controversy, adjust materials, or let the debate run its course, knowing that attention, positive or negative, can amplify engagement. And while the public debated, behind closed doors, discussions intensified. How should interviews be structured? Which photos should be released? How could co-stars and crew manage the inevitable questions from journalists? Every decision had layers of consequence, illustrating that what seems like a simple poster choice had spiraled into a multifaceted media event with global attention. But the most dramatic revelations were yet to come. Behind the social media storm and media coverage, insiders hinted at a leak. A piece of information that could redefine how audiences understood the poster controversy, the studio's strategy, and Meghan Markle's role in close personal friends. What emerged next would shock fans, further complicate public perception, and escalate the drama to a level no one had anticipated. The strategy behind the silence was shocking. That's how one insider described the conversations happening behind the doors of Amazon MGM in the aftermath of the poster controversy for close personal friends. While the world debated Meghan Markle's placement, isolated, cropped, or subtly pushed aside, the real story, insiders claim, lay in a calculated marketing and public relations strategy designed to balance controversy, engagement, and audience perception. Let's step into the world of studio strategy for a moment. Hollywood marketing is rarely accidental. Every image, every trailer, every press release is carefully curated. Studios spend months analyzing potential audience reactions, testing visuals, and considering narrative framing. The placement of an actor on a poster is not just about aesthetics. It's about psychology. Where someone appears signals prominence, importance, and influence. And when that actor is Meghan Markle, a former royal with global notoriety, every millimeter of space carries amplified significance. According to insiders, Amazon MGM executives debated her poster placement extensively. On one side were those advocating for her prominence, arguing that she is a draw in her own right and that minimizing her could alienate fans. On the other side were executives concerned about media backlash, overexposure, and the risk of distracting attention from the ensemble cast. The tension wasn't about talent. It was about perception. It was about controlling the narrative, anticipating reactions, and balancing risks. What makes this situation even more intriguing is the dual challenge the studio faced. First, there was the challenge of the public. Social media is instantaneous, reactive, and unforgiving. Every post, meme, or analysis could ignite a viral storm, shaping public perception before the studio had a chance to respond. Second, there was the internal dynamic. Subtle tensions between cast members, behind-the-scenes friction, and whispered debates created a production environment that needed careful navigation. The poster was the first visible manifestation of these strategic decisions. One insider elaborated on the discussions. They were tracking every angle. They considered color placement, visual hierarchy, line-of-sight dynamics, even predictive modeling of how audiences might interpret the poster on mobile screens versus billboards. The level of detail may seem excessive, but in Hollywood, especially with a project featuring a high-profile figure like Meghan Markle, nothing is left to chance. Strategically, the decision to isolate her on the poster could serve multiple purposes. It could mitigate risk by diffusing potential criticism about her overshadowing the ensemble. It could create intrigue, prompting media coverage and fan speculation. Attention is engagement, and engagement can be monetized through pre-release buzz. And it could preserve relationships with co-stars, who might otherwise feel secondary or overshadowed. Each rationale is plausible, and insiders suggest that all three were factors in the final decision. But the strategy wasn't just about the poster. It extended into all aspects of the film's marketing. Trailers, social media campaigns, press photos, and interviews were all evaluated with Meghan's presence in mind. Sources claim that executives conducted detailed risk assessments, weighing potential backlash against the value of leveraging her notoriety. Every promotional decision became a chess move in a high-stakes game designed to maximize attention while minimizing controversy. Consider the human element. Meghan Markle is someone who understands media and public perception at an expert level. According to insiders, she was aware of these strategic calculations and reportedly navigated them with professionalism. Yet even the most composed individuals cannot fully control how they are portrayed. The studio strategy was as much about shaping audience perception as it was about managing Meghan herself. Interestingly, the strategy also involved timing. Executives debated the release sequence of promotional materials, deciding when trailers would drop, which interviews would air first, and how images would be distributed across platforms. Insider whispers suggest that the goal was to control the narrative, spark conversation without letting it spiral out of control. The poster, in this context, was a carefully orchestrated first move in a multi-step strategy. Another critical aspect was audience segmentation. The studio reportedly analyzed demographics, fan behavior, and engagement patterns to predict how different groups would react. Would royal enthusiasts overanalyze her placement? Would general audiences focus on Lily Collins and Brie Larson instead? Would media outlets frame the poster as a snub, an aesthetic choice, or a subtle marketing ploy? These questions shaped the final visual product. Behind the scenes, some co-stars were reportedly briefed on these strategies to maintain harmony and prevent misunderstandings.